So today I'm going to show you how to weld a diff so you can be a drift legend. Okay, so you can see we got our little baby diff. How teensy weensy that thing. Thing's like a freaking lawnmower. Which is probably why the one that was in the car didn't live for very long. But unfortunately, we weren't able to find a 7.5-inch Celica Supra diff from a Mark 1. They're pretty hard to find, so we ended up lucking out and we found a stock one in the junkyard. So we're gonna go ahead and weld this up just because we will be going nowhere on dirt if we don't have both wheels spinning. Should be clean enough now, I think. So on an open diff, those spider gears in there are meant to, in a straight line, they'll turn together. If you're going around a corner, they'll allow the inside tire to track at a different speed. The downside to that is, so if one tire loses traction, all the power goes to the outside that doesn't, because the spider gears just spin around each other. And so this is actually known as a Lincoln locker. Goal is to weld inside that spool to lock those spider gears together so that no matter what, both axles are locked and you're effectively turning this into a locker, a solid spool. So the problem is on this tiny differential, most of them, this window is much, much bigger, so you have a lot more real estate to weld in there. So this is gonna be a little bit tight. Other thing is we're gonna be using a wet rag to kind of lay out around where we're welding so that we minimize the amount of spatter and junk that's gonna get all over this diff, so that when we put it back in, we hopefully don't get as much metal and stuff inside. We'll still probably flush the fluid once or twice. Pool of steel. Say she's feeling good. Okay, so if you're gonna weld your diff, one tip I have is stuff a ton of rags down under the differential. I tried my best to really stuff rags down in here, but with the diff sitting up when you're welding it, especially with these small windows, we didn't get the best shielding. It welded pretty good, but we got a lot more spatter than I would have hoped. And so this thing was just filled. So now I'm really struggling to clean it out, make sure we don't have any particles. We're also probably gonna do several oil changes. The last thing you ever wanna do is introduce moisture into a differential or transmission or somewhere where you have gears and bearings. But in this case, I don't think we really have a choice, so. So water by itself actually isn't all that bad. It's not the water, it's the rust and the corrosion that happens if it sits on the parts that actually causes damage, or if you were to run them with water in the case versus oil. You know, water definitely doesn't lubricate the way oil does. So what we're gonna do is we've let this drain pretty good, and then we're gonna try and blow as much water off the surfaces and dry it out as we can. Actually got it really good and dry, but just in case there's any moisture left, we were just hitting the the whole thing, especially the bearings, the little WD-40, because that'll displace any additional moisture and kind of just protect it so we don't get any flash rust before we're able to get fluid in this thing. So with that, now we're ready to put this sucker back in our axle housing and get everything back together. So we're gonna do that right here. So jump over there, we'll see you guys in just a minute. Oh, and if you wanna subscribe, do that on the way. There's a button right there.